Hello, welcome to Quackalope. Thank you for being here. Today, we're giving you 5 reasons to never even think about playing Jan Bigas' #1 game, favorite game. I mean, at least the nostalgia-filled grail game of your childhood and youth, Millennium Blades.
Yeah, by level 99 games. This is a beast of a title for so many reasons. And I think one of the best ways that we can show that is by showing how many things are in here. Wow, Jesse, I have that organized. How dare you do that? I am so angry at you right now.
I didn't think it would dump.
Yep. So, now that that's out of the way...
Could you please give us an overview of exactly what this game is while I begin playing everything
You
back
won't
in?
be able to, because one of the major critiques of this game, you just... made it happen. Okay, so Millennium Blades is a CCG simulator. If you're not aware or understand what a CCG is, that is a collectible card game. Think things like Yu-Gi-Oh!, Pokemon, what are the other popular? Magic the Gathering. All of those games being captured in a single box. And what do I mean by that? I'm not talking specifically about the gameplay of each of those. I'm talking about how you experience them. For example, in these games there are things called meta. There are special booster packs. There are incredibly rare cards, and all of these things exist within a market, and people buy those cards, and it's an entire community, etc., etc. This game is trying to recreate the entirety of that experience, and it does it through a fascinating hand management and tableau building system. The core conceit of this game is that you are working through multiple tournaments in order to see who is the ultimate card champion. And you'll do that by building a deck, I believe, of 11 or 12 cards. But here's the thing. What you're really doing in the game is building a combo. Whoever is able to create the best combo based on the specific meta or requirements within the game. Yes, Jesse, good luck organizing that. It's going to be impossible. Whoever is able to figure out the meta,
everything together
the best,
as much as possible,
will ultimately be named the Millennium Blades champion. And that is this game in a nutshell. And I've been incredibly distracted with my anger of what you've done.
No, listen. So the only things that actually got mixed were... Well, these didn't even get mixed. These just came out. These just came out.
Mm-hmm.
So let's start going through the reasons why people should not play this game.
And I think it's staring us right in the face.
With the most obvious, and the thing I was trying my best to display, the inserts, the organizers, the sheer amount of content in this game, expansion packs upon expansion packs upon expansion packs for a game that isn't a collectible card game, isn't a living card game. I suppose it is in its own form and way.
Yes.
This game has so much stuff to dig into, and every single one of these cards sequences and chains and works off of each other. As you're playing through the game, you can see the amount of content that you haven't even touched yet from the last, I believe, Kickstarter that came in. Every single one of these cards is unique in its application, in the way that it sequences and plays with itself, the way that it starts chaining off of other cards, and the way that they combine into the system that you're actually playing with. Setup, teardown, it's miserable.
Right now, I think this is maybe a quarter of the entirety of what's available of this game.
Surprisingly enough, most of the loose cards stayed in the box.
Of course, that does mean that you don't have to get into everything, but it does kind of show a few other elements that we'll touch in later. Let's talk about specifically about that setup and teardown. Yes, that might sound like a very general and, popular critique. However, Millennium Blades is the king of convoluted, complex setup. Basically, there are multiple stacks of categories of cards. Each of those cards needs to be shuffled in a deck of 600 cards every time that you do a new game.
This game has so much shuffling in it, it'd be honestly worth getting one of the poker shuffling systems just to organize something consistently. I mean, my thumbs were tired the first time we tabled this.
600 cards for the main deck, okay? And that involves grabbing multiple small packets of cards, maybe of 10, 20. We're talking about shuffling for maybe 20 minutes or so, just setting up the game. Now, imagine that at the end of this, you have to put all those cards away because they all have specific backs and they are all organized per categories,
At the end
per
of your
expansions.
game, you're not going to be playing the same system the next time you sit it down. I mean, it'll probably be a few months before you actually get it to the table again and justify the time.
Or maybe years like me.
And so the reasonable thing is to go back through and re-break down every single deck so that you can not have to do that at the start, because you're talking 20 to 30-ish minutes if you know what you're doing at the beginning, and then a solid 15 to 30 at the end, again, if you know what you're doing, and you have friends that are willing to help.
It is one of the most daunting setup experiences that I've ever had for a game, enough to have kept me away from playing this again. However, one of the most recent expansions, which is the Collusion expansion, actually addressed this issue by creating an entirely new system on how to start the game.
Did their very best to address it.
Yes, exactly. So let's go ahead and touch on one of the other major elements of this game, and I think we can kind of lead into what you were referring to.
Okay.
This is intimidating, not just by the amount of cards, but also by the gameplay itself.
Yep.
Millennium Blades is a game that consists of multiple phases that are completely different to one another. There is a deck building phase where you're literally trying to grab cards from both markets, aftermarket sales, your own personal portfolio, your collection, and your existing deck, comparing that to the current meta that is constantly randomized, understanding what your opponents are doing, understanding what are the requirements for that particular round in order to gain extra victory points, depending on the modules that you're bringing in. You also have locations and situations that might occur. Sometimes there's even special player powers. You can trade powers. You have friendship powers. There's a
Imagine
lot.
sitting down and someone handing you all 18 seasons of Yu-Gi-Oh! Or everything from
Actually,
Pokemon
yes.
and going, hey, you ready to play?
Yeah, that is pretty much exactly how this feels, especially for beginning
It's
players.
contained within a structure that allows you to draft and build and sequence and chain and upgrade, but everything that comes out needs to be diagnosed and read. Every scenario, every card, every potential adaptation, and the game never really settles into a rhythm.
Yep.
Unless you're very incredibly, substantially lucky, which is another comment we have on this list. The game should never, if it's playing right, settle into a rhythm of you doing one sequence after another, and most deck builders do. Most deck builders work around the idea of, I've perfected this series of actions, but Millennium Blades is constantly shifting the puzzle.
Yeah.
And it does so in a really, really incredible way that should, for the entirety of the 2-hour play session, leave you scratching your head,
2 hours,
pondering exactly how you should approach the new sequence of cards and the new sequence of events, and how you should interact and start tying things together with the people that are sitting around the table. This is 2 hours of brain-burning misery.
Yeah, and here's the other big reason why you might not want to play Millennium Blades, because during those 2 hours, if you are not familiar with the CCG conceit, if you never played Yu-Gi-Oh!
You're talking about the idea, the theme of this game overall.
Obviously, this might sound, again, like a very generic term. However, Millennium Blades has a lot of humor in it. It has a lot of nods. It has a lot of winks towards that type of community, towards the type of experience that players that really delved into Magic, that really delved into Pokemon will only know.
If you don't laugh at me saying Blue Eyes Spotted Dragon, this game might not be right for you. This game... A lot of games lean into their theme, right? It's pretty simple, unless you're talking about a Euro, which just has the theme painted on it. It really doesn't matter. Millennium Blades doubles down on that. They say anyone that's willing to take the time and the effort to table this already loves TCGs. They're already overcommitted in one of the 4 different franchises that exist, and so we're going to give them something to work towards, something to laugh about. We're going to have a series of cards and packs and expansions that all poke fun at your childhood nostalgia. Well,
they cater to
if you don't have any of that childhood nostalgia, you won't get the game. You won't. No, literally, you shouldn't. Don't get the game.
We'll get to reasons later, but yes, that is going to be a huge element of
the fun
of this game. Like, for example, look of how money is worked on here. This is a ploy, a joke towards how much money people are spending. Stacks and stacks and stacks of cards of money. The cards themselves have little booster packs in the back. There's so many small details and nuances in this game that if you don't really appreciate what they're doing, you're gonna miss I would say like a 30 or 20% of what
You're gonna
the
be
charm is in here.
Part of the reason why it's worth getting this to the table.
Yep, and here's another big deterrent for a lot of players. This is going to be a high pressure game. If this being intimidating from a rule
the
standpoint,
box scared you half to death, this game isn't one for you.
Yeah, this next thing might be even scarier than the box for people that have never played Millennium Blades. This has a timer in it.
Specifically around the deck construction phase.
Yes, so the way that this works, because the market in this game is so absolutely gigantic, I'm trying to find here the market. There's a particular tableau, but because the market is so large and it is constantly shifting, everybody is put on, I believe, on a 15 or something like that minute timer.
You think that sounds like a lot?
It's really not.
By 12 minutes in, you've just finished reading the cards. Now you have to figure out the puzzle you're trying to solve.
Because everything evolves with every new tournament and every new round. So in those 15 minutes, you have the opportunity to do multiple things. It's not just read these cards. You need to decide if you're selling your cards, where to put them in the aftermarket, if you are combining your cards in order to score them for points, if you are giving your cards away in order to get a special promo card. But wait, Jesse just put 3 cards down on the board that might work perfectly with your particular deck. So wait a minute, I was in the middle of doing my promo.
I'm pausing that because there's a chance I need to pick up
No,
those
you
cards.
can't pause it. You have to finish the action. And Shira just saw the cards and it's like, oh no, she's going to get it. There's only 2 minutes on the timer. Ah! And after that, if that wasn't enough, there's another timer afterwards in order to start building your deck. Now that you have all these cards that you thought you knew what your combo was, you just saw that the event is new and it's like, oh my god, how do I make my deck that I've been working towards the last round work for this round? Do I shift everything? Do I change all the cards?
The very first time I played, I removed the timer. I did. I didn't finish the game. I'll be honest. It's necessary to get to the end, but I didn't need it there.
And even with this timer, this game continues to be very long for the type of card game that it is. As Jesse stated, it tends to run at around 2 to 3 hours, and that's not even with full player count. That can sometimes be maybe 2 or 3 people at the most. You're going to be seeing high amounts.
This can be a 2-hour game at solo. It can be.
The only way that I would see that possible is if you're jumping into this for the first time.
Sure.
Also, I'm not entirely. There's probably is a solo mode. There's also cooperative variants. Like, they have added everything into this. Like, it's absolutely crazy. And so I think we're at our 5th point, correct?
Probably somewhere there. I mean, I don't really count them. I just
don't count them. How do you know what it like? We're giving false advertisement to the people.
I label the video and then I go through at least 5, oftentimes more, because there's enough things to complain about in the world.
Oh, the last thing that we'll talk about is, due to the staggering amount of cards and content and constant updates, this is one of those games.
Are you talking about the necessary expansion?
Not just a necessary expansion.
You're talking about the computer you have to have sitting next to you while you play this game.
Yes, Jesse, during our very brief research that really didn't even take us more than 10 minutes to do, how many of the original game FAQ did we find?
Yes, I'm pretty sure on BGG, if you're playing through this, because of the nuance, and I will actually make a forgiveness here. There is no way, with the amount of potential combinations, Level 99 could have done this. So good on them for having official responses to fan questions.
Yep.
However, it does not excuse the fact that there are at least 100, if not a couple hundred, maybe 150 or so, official responses and caveats for nuanced card play and decisions that people come across
in the
while
base
sitting
game.
Down to play this.
In the base game, and we are already almost 3 expansions. I'm not sure if that
list was a collection of everything,
okay.
Or, I mean, to be fair to them, I didn't double check if it was a collection of everything, or if it was a categorization of only the base game.
Okay,
But there was at least 100 plus official responses to interplay between these decks. And when you're actually playing the game, there's going to be moments where you don't know what's supposed to sequence when you don't know which card, if they're both activating at the same time, is supposed to follow the hierarchy order. You don't know specifically how the card text is supposed to be interpreted based off of what your opponent just played down. And you're gonna have to forgive yourself a little bit.
So for people that need specificity in games and that they cannot move forward if something is not clear in the rulebook or is not clear on the card, this might be one that's gonna really grind your gears. Because sometimes Probably. You're just going to have to vote on it as a table. And Jesse, I do think I've been kind of looking at our list. I've been kind of mulling it over, and I believe we have hit 5 for Millennium Blades.
Well, Jan, one thing I didn't tell you about this series of videos is after we've established to the audience why they should never play this game, I do want to give you at least a 60-second window to tell them why categorically, if they've made it to this point, they should absolutely be playing this game.
Okay, so the reason why you want to go for the reason why you want to go for Millennium Blades, if you have ever played any CCG and you have any fondness for it, this is going to be your perfect game. I cannot tell you how much of a great time I have had delving back into my childhood in a lot of ways. The nostalgia that is in this box, the level of humor that is here. If it is right for you, it is going to be so fantastically beautiful and well composed. This is a symphony of one giant portion of my life. Not just that, the game that is inside here, once you go through that gigantic, humongous barrier of entry, is compelling, it is gripping, it is constantly evolving, and it will challenge your problem-solving skills and decision-making opportunities through the maximum threshold that you are capable of. The level of abilities, the amount of expansions. This is a game that is constantly and will never run out in terms of replayability and of time investment. So if you have a group, if you're a fan of this card system or any card system, I think Millennium Blades is genuinely one of the hidden gems in board gaming for those of us that like card games. Seriously, if any of what I said sounds right for you, get yourself the base copy. You don't need all the stuff. The base copy of Millennium Blades, and try it out for yourself because you have never played something like this before.
Now, the sad part is I did a hard cut at the 60 seconds, so they didn't hear that last, 3/4 of what you just said.
How do you know it was 60 seconds?
Oh, you went on for way longer than 60
No,
seconds.
I did not.
Well, just in case, we're still running on
You better not cut me
time.
like you cut Jeremy Howard. At least put a sound effect. Make it, edit it nicely, man.
Thanks so much for being here.
That was rough.
We'll see you next time. If you actually made it to this point, the secret ending to the secret ending, what game should we do next? This series, it's not going away, and the biggest names in the industry, we're coming after them.
Uh-oh.
We'll see you next time.